Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessica. I am ThisKiwi, and today we are here to talk about a book haul. So this is fairly straightforward. You've all seen book hauls. I am nowhere near the first person to ever do this. We're just going to get straight into it. So the first books that I want to mention are all gifted books. Now I am super appreciative of all these books. First two that we've got actually are Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I am so excited to have this, and I am so excited to read it. I did start reading this a little bit, I think in November or December, but things just got crazily busy, and I didn't really end up getting, I think, past the first chapter. But I so want to get into this world. It sounds so cozy and lovely. And the next book that Leandra sent was The Heartless Hunter by Kirsten Cicerelli. And anything witchy, I absolutely love. And the fact that this is about a hunter, a witch hunter, and a witch, and the witch community has been sent underground, essentially. And like, I absolutely despise that, but I'm hoping that it all works out all right for the witches in the end. And I'm super excited to get into this. So these were both from Leandra, from Leandra and the TBR Zero. There we go. Definitely go and check her out. Any channels that I mentioned will be linked below. Next, we have One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillick. Another series that I really wanted to try. And it sounds quite like it's a fantasy, but it looks quite dark just based on the covers. I don't know a whole bunch about this, but a lot of people really love it. And I want to keep it that way. I want to go into this relatively blind, but I have heard great things about these. So that is from Kirsty from Quebec Bookish, and thank you so much. I really appreciate them. I cannot wait to dive into these. These will be on my TBR this year. The next gifted ones, which are amazing and I absolutely love them, that is Assistant to the Villain and Apprentice to the Villain. Nicole from Dusty Book Sniffers sent me these for my birthday, and I so love them. I read Assistant to the Villain. You will get my thoughts on that fairly shortly. It'll be really interesting to read the second one as well. And apparently there's a third one on the way, which I'm super excited about. If that kind of gives you any indication of what I thought about the first book. The final gifted one, and I cannot thank my sister enough for managing to find this, because finding this in New Zealand is damn near impossible as like a physical, and if you can, it's usually really expensive, and that is Piranesi by Susanna Clark. Now, you guys have heard me talk about this book so much. I mentioned it so much. Spoiler alert, but it was the best book of 2024 for me. I guess that's not really a spoiler if you've been around my channel for long enough. But the like, just to have a physical copy, I'm so appreciative. Yeah. I got the present and I felt it was a book, and I'm like, is that what I think it is? And it was. And apparently she made her 4-year-old go like climbing over shelves and under tables, and because it was right at the very back of a warehouse or something like that she saw. And she basically said, I'm not leaving without that book. So yeah, I'm so happy to have this in my possession, and it will be treated like gold. We have the Maple Hills series, all three of them, Icebreaker, Wildfire, and Daydream. Icebreaker and Wildfire I read through the library, through the Libby app, and I really enjoyed them. I really wanted to get to Daydream, and Daydream was my favourite. But yes, definitely some pretty awesome books here, and I'm so glad to have a physical copy of them. Next, we have a little stack of non-fiction books. I went to a book fair back in October and just saw some random books that looked quite interesting. One of them is the There and Back Again tale from what's his name, Sean Astin, the guy who plays Sam, which should be really, really interesting. Like knowing kind of basically his experiences behind the scenes of Lord of the Rings. And I am a huge Lord of the Rings fan. At least the movies. I'm definitely keen to give this a read. Next, we have a couple of, I guess you could say, self-help books, which I'd be really interested to read. First one is The Happiness Project, or Why I Spent a Year Trying to Sing in the Morning, Clean My Closets, Fight Right, Read Aristotle, and Generally Have More Fun. I have heard in the pipeline somewhere of this book. If you've read this book, let me know what you thought of it. I don't really know what to expect, like whether it's a diary or whether it's a kind of a self-help book, or yeah, I don't quite know what to expect from that, but I am expecting a few tips that will just kind of help me, especially kind of later on in the year as things are definitely going to get busier. So yeah, that will be read probably next month. Now the next one I picked up because A, the cover is incredibly bright and pink. And B, I've always kind of had an interest in property. And so I found this. It's called Smashed Avocado. But the subtitle for that is How I Cracked the Property Market and You Can Too. So it would be really interesting to see somebody else's point of view and where they came from, and how they managed to kind of get themselves into it, because that's probably one of the hardest parts of getting into the market, is actually getting into the market. I think once you're in there, and once you know a little bit, it becomes easier, but actually getting into the property market, it would be quite difficult. The other one I got was Where Sleeping Girls Lie by Farida. Yep, by that person there. I'm very sorry. I'm not even going to try. It has this really cool like flip cover thing, which I thought was really interesting. And to see such a new release at a book fair, I just had to get my hands on it, and that's the back cover there as well. I was talking to somebody about it, and they wondered whether it might be an arc. Again, to see an arc in a book fair is quite phenomenal. However, that was not the only 2024 release that I found. I also found I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. Now, I don't think I have tried anything by Stephen Graham Jones, but yeah, I managed to get my hands on a copy of that. And again, it's like never been read. And I got it for $2. I also got this for $2 or $1. Yeah, no, it was $2. So yeah, very, very interesting. Another book that we thought may have been an arc was What Becomes of the Brokenhearted by Alan Duff. That is the front cover there. This is the second book in the Once for Warriors trilogy. And I read Once for Warriors last year, and it was quite interesting to read, very different, quite confronting as well. And it left me kind of wondering what was going to happen to a couple of the different characters that they didn't really resolve. So I found that and I grabbed that. And there was another copy of this, and this was absolutely the best copy that was there. So I'm so glad I grabbed this instead of the other one. I also managed to find The Secret Life of Bees. Now this wasn't from the book fair. I found it at an op shop. Pretty new. Saw the movie and absolutely loved it. So I'd be so interested to read the book, and I will be reading it this year. I'll be reading it for Buzzwordathon. I may be buddy reading it with Nicole, depending on when it comes up in her TBR game. And do watch that video. I will link it. Yeah, super interesting, and it fits perfectly with Buzzwordathon because it says like the title. It has to have an animal, and also there has to be an animal on the cover. So it works perfectly for that. Another one I found in the op shop was The Frozen River by Ariel Lawson. I don't know a whole lot about this, but I have heard very, very good things about this. I've heard that it's quite sad. Inspired by a true story, apparently. The back talks something about a diary, something about a healer and an entombed body under the ice. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. This is another one that I want to go into relatively blind, and just kind of see what I think. I think this is like a mystery, like a I wouldn't call it a lip flick. I'd say like maybe a contemporary mystery or something like that. But yeah, so excited, and again, like practically brand new. Keeping with the book fair, I have never read Emily St. John Mandel, but I've heard nothing but good things about them. So I managed to pick up The Glass Hotel. And the name of the book itself, and again, I haven't really read the synopsis or anything like that, but the name of it kind of reminds me of a mix between The Lake House and like, is it 13 Ghosts? That movie where it's like a glass like house. So yeah, that makes it really interesting. So like any kind of architecture where it's just glass, made out of glass, is really interesting to me. And like to have a book set in something like that is yeah, something I'm quite excited about. Also, it has deckled edges, which is always a win for me as well. This is an ex-library book. I didn't steal it from the library. Moving on to a series of books that I found at the bookstore, the book fair, and I'm so happy about. I'm only missing one of them. That is pretty much most of the Percy Jackson series. Now I've got the first. I already had the first Percy Jackson. I already had the first Percy Jackson book, but I didn't have any of the other ones. And I thought if I was going to read them, I'd want to read them all together, like binge read them. So I managed to find The Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and then I think that's all I found in that series. But then I also found Percy Jackson and the Greek gods as well. Now, it's my understanding that there is quite a big world with these books. So if I enjoy that series, I'd be really interested to keep going with the rest of them. So now we have a couple of random fantasies that I found that I thought looked quite interesting. I really liked the cover of this. It's called The Shadow of the Wolf. Also, so sorry for my camera quality. It tends to dip as soon as things start getting a bit darker and stuff like that. It doesn't matter what camera I've got. But I did like the cover of Shadow of the Wolf by Tim Hall. I thought it was really cool. It says on the back, Robin Locksley is just a boy when his parents disappear without a trace. Years later, the great love of his life, Marion, is taken from him. Driven by his pain and need for answers, Robin follows a darkening path into the ancient heart of Sherwood Forest. What he encounters there will leave him transformed. So yeah, I would say probably werewolf, and will alter forever the legend of Robin Hood. Yeah, very interesting. I quite liked the cover, and to read a Robin Hood retelling could be quite interesting. Another fantasy, it's not so random, but I want to give Game of Thrones a go. Now, this is probably one of the most intimidating reads that I've bought. But I figured if I was going to read this, I need to read this, like actually have the physical book in my hand, because if I recall correctly, there's like appendices and like there's the houses and there's like the maps and there's like family trees and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, there is. You've got like the families there, and it's quite extensive, and I'm quite intimidated. But I do want to give it a go this year. It may be a book that takes 2 or 3 months to get through, but that's fine. So now we're moving on to some classics that I found at the book fair. One of them was The Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas. Um, Very, very cool cover of this. To be fair, it was more of a cover buy than anything. But the story of the Three Musketeers is quite cool. Watching the movies, I quite like the chemistry that they have between each other. So, yeah, I picked that one up. It was like $2, so it was fine. The other one I picked up, I read this for October for Scareathon, and I really enjoyed it. I love the movie. That is Schindler's List by Thomas Keneally. Um, and just having a physical copy of the book is really what I wanted. Um, I may read it again next year, or this year rather, and just kind of see how I go. Um, it would be nice to read this under not so pressured conditions and see how that goes. Next two books I want to talk about are two books from Roald Dahl that you probably haven't heard of. This one, Someone Like You, this is a collection of, I think, stories that he has written, short stories, um, adult short stories. Yeah, they are. They're short stories. We know Roald Dahl more as a children's author. Um, and to see works written by him that are for adults is really, really interesting to me. And I had to get my hands on these. Not like necessarily in the best of conditions, but it's fine. I mean, this is 1977. I think this is when this came out. So this is an old book. So it is in relatively good nick considering how old it is. And he also collated a book of ghost stories. Now these aren't written by him. And again, this isn't in the best of condition. This was 1985 that this was published. So this is a bunch of horror stories from different authors, but Roald Dahl has just collated them into a book, and these are some of his favorite ghost stories. So that is really cool to find two books from Roald Dahl where he's not writing for kids. Um, and I thought it was super important to get these because a lot of his works nowadays have been edited, or a lot of his kids' stuff has been edited, and I hate that with a passion. Um, I think it's wrong to have edited works. I think it takes away some very important conversations. Um, and so I think just like as a collector's thing, like these are some pretty important books to have. So yeah, but those were probably my best finds of that market. Secondhand wise, I managed to pick up The Love Hypothesis. The Love Hypothesis. I've never read An Ellie Hazelwood yet. Been very interested to, but it's not something that I wanted to spend like $30 on a book to read when I didn't know if I liked it or not. It'll be a good way to test her out and just see. Moving on to another secondhand book that sounded kind of interesting. It was like $5. That is The Sanatorium by Sarah Pierce. I do want to get into more thrillers. That is one of my 2025 goals, is to start reading more thrillers, maybe thriller mysteries, and trying to find my groove and see where I sit and where I enjoy those stories, because there's a lot of them out there. I struggle to feel anything with thrillers because to me they're not really that thrilling. But I'm hoping with this one here, I really liked the Murders at the Endicott Hotel, and that had like an isolated hotel setting, and I really liked that. So I'm hoping like the same isolated setting. It's not set in a hotel. It's set in an abandoned sanitarium, um, sanatorium. But like, I'm wondering if asylum type books would be good for me, maybe, because they could be really, really weird and really fun. Uh, but yeah, this is a this was a buy, just to kind of see how I go. River, mummy's gonna be talking. Mummy's gonna be talking quickly. Mummy has to get this done. While my cat decides what he is doing, the next one I got was the Dictionary of Lost Words, and I've wanted to read this for a few years. It looks like it's such a good book. A friend of mine, Nicole, gave this 5 stars, so that bodes well for me because I think we've got relatively similar reading tastes. Come on, you're just going to stand there. Okay, we've got relatively similar reading tastes. And so I really want to read this and get this going. This is like essentially the beginnings of the Oxford Dictionary, and like what words went in there and stuff like that. And I think there were some words that were like maybe poo-pooed from being in there or something like that. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, very, very much looking forward to reading this. Final second-hand book we've got is The Whispering Dead by Darcy Coates. Now, I think I've said this on my streams. I'm not sure, but Darcy Coates is incredibly hard to find in New Zealand. I'm just going to turn this light up. That doesn't really help, does it? No. Darcy Coates is incredibly hard to find in New Zealand. Like, you couldn't find it in the library, you couldn't find it in a regular bookstore, you can find it normally in a secondhand shop. I managed to get this off Facebook Marketplace, and I saw it and I was like, I want that one. That has Darcy Coates' name on it. I haven't read anything from her, but I have heard great things from her writing, and I just want like a proper horror story, a proper ghost story, in a novel, and I want to at least feel uneasy when I'm reading this. So hopefully that's what I get. Seems like it's going to be very easy to read. It's like not even 300 pages. So yeah, hopefully that'll take me like a day. Moving on to books that I bought retail. I'm not sure if I've showed you this in the last one. If I have, oh well. But that is the Ballad of Songbird and Snakes by Suzanne Collin. Well, it won't be, but for now it's the final book in the Hunger Games series. And I want to read this before the next one comes out, which I think is this year at some point, and I really, really want to read it. It's Hamish's story. And I've loved all the other ones, and this should be really interesting to read about everything from Snow's perspective. So yeah, very, very happy to have my hands on that. I do want to at some point get a set of all of them where they're like the same spines. But that's a some other time problem. Um, Moving on to Christmas presents that I bought myself this year. First one, the Final Gambit, in the I guess the Inheritance game series. Um, the first one was a 5 star. I'm hoping the second one will be a 5 star. These are just really fun. They're like actually like escape rooms. There's puzzles that you've got to like they've got to solve, and it's really fun. I love that thing. If you guys know any books that are essentially like escape rooms, apart from this, obviously, please let me know because I love the whole escape room mechanics. Even better if it's a horror. But yeah, super super happy to have this one, and then I've only got the Brothers Hawthorne to go after that. Next, we have this chunker of a book, The House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. I loved the first book that I read in October. Again, I would like to reread it in a less pressurized environment, but super, super, super excited about this one because I spoilt myself on the internet, and there was a spoiler for House Sky and Breath, and I thought, bugger it, I need to read this right now, right this second. I need to read this book. Um, this is not going to be read this month. This will be read at some point this year. It's going to have to be this year because I really, really want to continue on with the series. The next one I got, I've heard about this series, the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. It's like, is it like the first in the series, or like is it part of like a companion series? Dream Harbor. The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, like that, like it's all kind of in the same vein, like cozy mystery, that kind of thing. Um, and it just looks so cute. It looks so cozy. So this is going to be an autumn read for me, definitely. Um, and like, there's a little cat there, and there's books, and how could I not buy it with all the books and the cat? And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. I think this is going to be a cozy, easy read. And next we have Beach Read by Emily Henry. I bought this knowing that I wanted to do a video in February. Next one I read, and I'm reading this already, is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I had to buy this one because we're doing a buddy read. Some of the people who did NetGalley November, we're all doing a buddy read of this in preparation for reading A Drop of Corruption, which quite a few of us got on NetGalley, which I still cannot believe that I got A Drop of Corruption on NetGalley. So yeah, this needs to be read this month, and I'm really liking it. I can see the Sherlock Watson dynamic coming through, and I'm really enjoying it. I think Anna, who's like the Sherlock character, is really funny, really a great character, and we've only just met her essentially. And also, there's like a fauna flora like magic system that's kind of happening that is really interesting as well. There's like a mushroom that is like in these rooms, and it just automatically cleans the air around. I want one of those. Finally, I'm not sure if I showed you this in my previous book haul or not, but I will show you, was the physical to Hunting Prince Dracula. I have the physical to Stalking Jack the Ripper. Really enjoyed both of these. I think I enjoyed this one more than I enjoyed Stalking Jack the Ripper. This was like a 4.25, a 4, can't remember. But it's got really cool like letters and diary entries and stuff like that. It's just really fun. Basically, she has gone to Transylvania. She is like doing this medical training, and they've actually turned like Bram Castle into a college for these students, like doing this medicine and stuff like that. And it was so good. It was so good. So yes, those are my books that I have bought in between now and the last time that I did a book haul. It's about 4 months worth. It's over 30 books, but it's not too bad. While I'm here editing, I thought I would just jump on and show you the other 4 books that I just bought. When I was at work the other day, I saw these and I went, yes, please, I need to have them. First one is Julie and Julia by Julie Powell. Now, if you've seen the movie, I loved the movie. I loved pretty much everything about that movie. And it made me want to kind of try a challenge like that itself. Basically, Julie is I think she was like an insurance, not salesperson, but like she worked for getting insurance through. But she decided to take on the challenge of recreating Julia Child's cookbook, one recipe at a time, 365 days, 524 recipes. And she gave herself a year to get this done because otherwise procrastination is a thing. Um, and so it's a lot about that. And then it also goes back to Julia Child and how Julia Child learned to cook and like her going through classical training and stuff like that. And it's every time I watch the movie, I get so hungry. If you guys are doing Herc yet, this would be fantastic to read because I'm assuming there will be lots of recipes and lots of food in there, and probably some of them that you wouldn't know of. So I think this is actually based on a true story. This is based on a true story. Um, very, very, very excited to read this one. Next, following on the movie train, I saw The Devil Wears Prada. I didn't know it was a book actually. And this is like a really nice, light kind of book movie thing, essentially following Andrea, who is trying to make it in, I think, journalism, like fashion journalism. And she gets a job for Miranda Priestley, who is like the top of the top of the top of fashion. And yeah, she starts making impressions. Eventually, she learns how to kind of style herself and her wardrobe and stuff like that. And she begins kind of carving out a little relationship with Miranda and just kind of seeing like how like they navigate some issues and stuff like that, and how Andrea kind of starts changing herself to fit into this fashion lifestyle. Um, I think somewhere in the book it says, I know it says in the movie, where if you work for Miranda Priestley, you can work anywhere in the world. Um, so yeah, that will be really interesting to read. Just something that does not require any brain cells to read. So yeah, I'm very happy that this came in. Now, the other one I got was Rivers of London by Ben Aronovich. Now, this one I got, this was on my Pokemon TBR for this quarter, and the prompt was a book that has a map on the cover, and this is absolutely a map. It also kind of carries over to the back as well. And I have heard really good things about this. I don't know a whole lot about it. This is almost like a crime, but with like a magical realism type element to it. I'm going into this relatively blind, but I have heard really good things, and if I enjoy it, I will be really glad to carry on the series. I think it's like 4 or 5 books in the series. So yeah, that'll be really interesting. Now, the final book that I picked up, and I picked this up on a whim because I have heard absolutely great things about this. I think it's like a historical fiction, and that is The Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver. And I think Barbara Kingsolver was the person who wrote Demon Copperhead. Not really sure what to expect from this one. It looks like it's set in Africa, in the Congo, set in 1959. It's the story of one family's tragic undoing and remarkable reconstruction over the course of 3 decades in post-colonial Africa. They carry with them all they believe they will need from home, but soon find that all of that, from garden seeds to scripture, is calamitously transformed on African soil. Really not sure what to expect from this one, but I do quite like a historical fiction. Yet to find a book where it's set in Africa that I really enjoyed. So hopefully this will be the one. I've heard absolutely fantastic things about this, so I do have relatively high expectations. That was my book haul. Again, I apologize about the absolute crap quality when it comes to light and stuff like that. Yeah, everything just goes pretty bad, but that was it. Have you read any of the books that were on my haul? I'm sure you have. If you have, what has been your favorite? What has been your least favorite? And what I have heard hauled? Um, and definitely go back and answer some of those questions that I asked in the video as well. If you have made it this far, thank you. I appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. Um, if you want to comment, you're not feeling chatty, leave me a plant emoji or a mushroom emoji. If you can find a mushroom emoji, leave me that for the tainted cup. So, yes, that is going to be it for me until the next episode. Bye bye.